The Elizabethan era begins in 1558 when Queen Elizabeth I inherited the crown. This is up until her death in 1603. It was a time during the Renaissance when not many could read or write, so there were those like Shakespeare who wrote plays to entertain the illiterate. An environment like this sounds so third world as compared to today, especially when you take in consideration that people from that era lived in a time when having running water was a dream and toilets were non-existent. Other social issues included the social income gap, as there were many in poverty and few who lived wealthy. The social pyramid in England was very apparent, with the nobility being the queen and her government leaders at the top. The pyramid follows with the gentry or landowners, followed by the yeomen, farmers who own and farm their own land, followed by tenant farmers, farmers who pay rent to live and farm on the same land, followed by laborers, those who work blue-collar jobs around the countryside. At the bottom of the social pyramid were those who were homeless and looked down upon. Women at the time still had assumed roles, where they had at-home jobs. Women did not even consider having a career during this time period. Whether they were considered issues or not, these were the things Queen Elizabeth I had to deal with when she inherited the crown. Her reign also contained political issues walking in. When it came to voting, only the wealthy man who owned land could vote. The unwealthy and women were not allowed to vote. However, at this time, it was no problem to the nobilities, including Elizabeth herself. When Queen Mary I died in 1558, Elizabeth I took over as her older sister left the country in debt. The crown was broke in debt. There was likely due to the fact that the previous rulers of England, King Harry, Mary I, and her brother Edward, borrowed too much money at a 14% interest rate. Today, countries would borrow from the World Bank, but at this time, England's previous rulers would borrow from the city. The common way Queen Elizabeth I attempted to get out of debt was by selling land, but came to no permanent solution. The Queen tried to keep her people happy, so raising taxes was not an option for her, and Parliament agreed on it. To get England out of debt and at the top of selling more land, Queen Elizabeth would spend less money on her clothing and on her servants, as well as paid less on paying members of the Parliament, her fellow nobles. She, with the wealthy men getting lower incomes, the country fell out of debt in 1574, thanks to the effort of Queen Elizabeth I.